Chapter 13, we are discussing patient rights and responsibilities. This is a short chapter, which is exciting. I'm going to keep my video short and sweet also. Okay, I'm on page 253 of the book, and let me move the slide here. Learning objectives are listed on the slide and in the book on page 253. Patients have both rights and responsibilities, so that just comes with everything. If you have a right, there's actually a responsibility associated with that right. So patient's right to know one's right to get an explanation of the rights, right to ask questions, and etc. Upon admission, anytime a patient enters into a healthcare facility, you have to provide the rights. They have to know, as a healthcare consumer, what's available to them. Healthcare organizations must educate patients on their rights. It is not something that's implied or assumed. It is a responsibility every time a patient enters into a healthcare facility. And the rights, they just keep going. There's a sample patient bill of rights on page 254, and this PowerPoint is highlighting many of them also. The rights of patients have to be respected at all times. If we do not respect the rights that are set out by federal agencies, we will lose federal funding. We can also lose other funding if we're not compliant with these type of things too. So, right to an admission, right to care, your caregivers, right to an examination and treatment. Uh, Government hospitals are a little different, and I don't think that it didn't bring that up in the PowerPoint. That's okay. I'm going to stay on this slide, but mention on page 256, like a military hospital, I, as a non-military person, I do not have the right to enter into that hospital and expect to be admitted. So that's a little different. It's a different with an entity. And same premise is if there is a mental wellness hospital or a pediatric hospital, I too, as an adult, not suffering from mental issues at that current time, I can't expect it. I don't have a right to be admitted to those type of specialty hospitals, if that makes sense. Definitely, we have a right to know our providers. That was actually on this slide right here. And the rights just continue. They just go down the page, 257, flipping over to 258, 259. We have rights to refuse treatment, absolutely. A lot of times, the right to refuse treatment may lessen when we remind patients that your insurance company may not pay if you do refuse treatment. But it does happen. Right to chaplain type services. Ethics consultation is definitely something that we have available throughout a healthcare facility, and different situations will arise. Right to discharge, right to access records. Yes, of course, we just spoke about medical records in the chapter before. Transparency, hospital charges, that is important too. Then that is definitely a patient right. So on page 261, we hospital adverse events are mentioned at the top of that page, but also patient responsibilities are listed again because remember, if there is a patient right, there is a responsibility, and seriously, we can apply that with everything in life. Let me keep going. So, patient's responsibility. It is their responsibility to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Even our folks with chronic illnesses and disease processes, a lot of that management of that is that patient's responsibility. You have to maintain current medication records as a patient. You must keep you're expected to keep appointments. It is allowed in healthcare facilities, not so much like emergency rooms such as that, but a provider can fire you. We discussed that in chapters prior, dismiss you as a patient for not keeping appointments. So that is a patient responsibility. You must keep appointments when you make them. And of course, things happen. Like obviously, you can cancel the day before, but you also may get charged if you don't cancel until the morning of. So again, keeping appointments is a patient responsibility. Full disclosure of medical history is also a patient responsibility. You have to give your healthcare facility team, your caregivers, your past information, your current medications, that type of pertinent information that may have something to do with your care. That is a responsibility. It's the patient's responsibility to communicate, ask questions, adhere to a care plan, follow instructions. If a patient leaves the hospital and has not adhered to the care plan that was given verbally in writing, because that's how it always does, and oftentimes with the electronic health records that we have now, it's also online in the patient portal section. These patients have a responsibility to follow the instructions. Okay, keep going. Avoid self-administration of medications. Yes, we never want people to not follow instructions and give medicines that aren't theirs, or not maybe buy over-the-counter medicines and use them incorrectly. The patient's responsible for reporting unexpected changes in health status, comply with policy, respect also. And then the last slide is review questions, and they can be found in the book. So yeah, quick and simple, I think. If you have any questions, please let me know.